What's going on?
Sure.
Okay, I guess we're gonna call the meeting to order. It's 4:01, and maybe we'll start off by introducing everybody. I'm Kevin Nickman. I'm the chair of the Economic Expansion Committee for CRSC, and maybe I'll ask John if you can start this while I try to get the rest going. That'd be great.
Not a problem. Maybe what we'll do is go around the screen, or at least my screen here. Susan, if you'd like to introduce yourself. Oh, I think you're on mute, Susan. Okay. Susan's with the community of Hanwell, David, elected councillor at Hanwell, and I believe the deputy mayor are, am I right on that, Susan? Yes. And we'll go
Yep.
over, Kelly Shaw from our office. Kelly, if you want to just kind of give a wave. And Don Fitzgerald, our Chief Operating Officer. Paul Meunier, I'll ask you to introduce yourself.
Certainly, Paul Meunier, Ward 2 Councillor for Arcadia, which is the former village of Gagetown. And just a shout out to you, CEO Smith, and the team that put together the summit recently. That was excellent, and very much enjoyed Mr. Campbell's presentation, and look forward to a revisit.
Well, thank you. Director Hayward.
Good afternoon. Mayor David Hayward from Sunbury York South Rural Community.
Thank you. Victoria.
Victoria Green, Ward 2 Councillor for the Nashwauk Rural Community.
Thank you very much. Mr. Erickson. Director Erickson. Oh. Can't hear you, Greg. Yeah. Yes.
All right, how's that?
There you go.
Excellent. Greg Erickson, councillor for the city of Fredericton, Ward 8, Skyline Acres, Forest Hill.
Thank you very much. Ron.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Gadet. I work for the Department of Local Government. I'm the Rural District Manager for the area of the Capital Region.
Kelly, have I missed anyone here? I'm just looking at my view. Scroll.
You have staff from the municipality of Grand Lake on board.
Yep.
Chair already knows those guys, but
Mr. Chair, would you like your staff to introduce themselves here just so that we know everyone online?
Sure. Go ahead, Jeff.
My name is Tiffany Inlet. I'm the treasurer for the municipality.
And Sean.
And I'm Sean Patterson, Councillor Ward 4, Municipality of Grand Lake.
Okay. So I think that's everybody for now. And yes, we are looking forward to revisit from the session that we had in the winter. And I'm going to apologize, but I can't find the agenda.
Kelly, can you haul it up? Or yeah, Kelly's going to haul it up for you there, Mr. Chair, just so we can sanction the meeting and get it going.
Wonderful.
There you go, sir.
Okay, so we did the round. I knew it was, went, I guess we need to, I need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Seconder.
Second, Greg Erickson.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary by nay. Okay, we're moving. Any conflict of interest to disclose? Conflict of interest. Okay, with there be no conflict of interest, we did the roundtable introductions. I did know from memory that we would be doing that, so we did already do that part, and we're gonna move to the presentation. So if you guys are ready, we're ready, Dave.
So how do you want me to handle this? Do you want me to share my screen? Is that the easiest way to do this?
We can
John?
do that, or Kelly, do you have the presentation right there, I believe?
I do, whatever's easier for Mr. Campbell.
I think it's probably easier if I can just share my screen just so I can sort of progress at my pace here, but let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, we can do it the other way. Okay, let's see. Now, do you see my screen?
Yep.
Do you see the presentation? The New Brunswick's
There we
capital
go.
region,
Yep.
integrated economy?
Yes.
Okay. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you again. I met many of you at the session that we did before on this. When John approached me originally about this project, I was very interested because I think we should be looking at our economies on a regional basis. Of course, we have municipal boundaries, we have municipalities, and you all have to take care of your municipalities, of course. But economies and populations don't necessarily conform to municipal boundaries. There's a lot of interplay between the various municipalities. So diving into this and looking at how the regional economy here in the capital region is lots of synergies and lots of ways that the various municipalities and populations benefit from being part of a greater population, I think was an interesting project, and I was glad to do the work. I know some of you have seen this presentation, so we'll go fairly quickly through it, and I'll try to answer any questions you might have. My day job is economic development, so if you want to talk about any other issues, I'd be happy to try and answer any questions you might have. So I'm just gonna, so this wasn't in the report because this data had just come out after I had submitted the report to the Service Commission, but this is just the latest population numbers. We went over this the other day. So the census metropolitan area, which is the city of Fredericton and the surrounding communities that are tightly integrated with the city. So the census metropolitan area has a population of about 122,500. The rest of the capital region is about 37,005. And so the total capital region, which is basically the three counties, is about 160,000 population. And you can just see the components of the population growth there. I wanted to point out, that certainly if you look outside the CMA, we have a lot more deaths every year than births. So we have to be considering that when we think about the future. Our natural population growth rate outside of the urban center is fairly negative. If you look at the immigration numbers, very, very strong in the metropolitan area, in the city of Fredericton and the metro area. Not as much immigration into the periphery, but still we've seen a bit of an increase there. The interesting thing from this data was the net interprovincial migration. So that's people moving in from other provinces. And if you look at it as a share of population, it's actually higher in the rest of the capital region than in the CMA. So the net, there's about just under 400 people on a net basis moved in from other provinces. So people are moving in from elsewhere in Canada and moving into some of the smaller communities in the capital region and not so much into the urban center. And similar trend with the intra-provincial. So most of the population growth in the city and in the metropolitan area comes from immigration and from non-permanent residents. And most of the population growth outside of the CMA is coming from migration within Canada, either within the province or within the rest of the country. So this is just the population growth rate for a number of the census subdivisions. And again, these don't conform to the new municipal boundaries. This is data from Stats Canada. And hopefully, when we get the new census numbers in 2026, we'll have the new municipal boundaries. But for now, we have to deal with the old boundaries, which is, say, the New Maryland Parish and the Douglas Parish and the Stanley Parish and so on. So you can just see where the population growth has happened. And then we have had a few communities just in the last year. A few of the smaller census subdivisions have actually shed population. Minto dropped a little bit, Nakawik dropped a little bit, and Majorville, the parish, dropped a little bit of population over the last year. I can't see anybody, so if you have any questions or need to stop me, you can sort of just yell out, I guess, or I can certainly take questions at the end. So this is what I was mandated to do, to complete a regional economic and demographic analysis to look at how the economy is integrated, how it works together. And then when you're working on things together as municipalities and the Service Commission, you'll understand better about this interdependency between the rural and urban, the smaller communities, the larger community, and the city. Most of the data for this came from Stats Canada. I also used a secondary source called Lightcast, which does some projections between census periods that's helpful when you're doing this kind of analysis. And again, for the purposes of our work here, the capital region includes York, Sunbury, and Queens. So just right off the top here, this is the share of the regional economy that is concentrated in the main city. So this is not the metro area. This is the city of Fredericton. So the city of Fredericton accounts for 67% of the economic activity, or the GDP, of the capital region, but only 44% of the population. If you compare that to St. John is about 60% of the regional economy down there, and only 41% of the population. And in Moncton, because you have Dieppe and Riverview, larger municipalities there, the city of Moncton only accounts for about 52% of the regional population, regional economy, and 42%. So a larger share of the regional economy is centered in the city of Fredericton when we look at the capital region. So if we break that down by specific industries, and of course you would always expect that a lot of the specialized and economic activity that requires scale, a lot of that in any urban area or any regional economy is going to happen in your city. But 76% of all retail sales across the capital region occur in businesses located within the city of Fredericton's boundaries. 95% of all of your specialized financial services, so that would be investment planning services and more specialized, not banking services, but specialized financial services. If you look at legal services in general, 90% of the revenue in that sector occurs in the city. 89% of all architectural, engineering, and related services revenue occurs in the city. 87% of the advertising and communications sector is generated by companies that are located in the city. And then, interestingly enough, 87% of all the revenue in the dentist office sector occurs in the city. Just a few more here. If you look at other health practitioners, so this would be physiotherapy, occupational therapy. This does not include things like dentist and optometry and so on, but everything else, again, 78% of that business is concentrated in the city. 67% of all revenue in the physician's offices sector is in the city. Of course, the arts and entertainment sector is mostly concentrated in the city. Most of the hotels, motels, traveler accommodations, 81% of the revenue in that sector is in the city. 74% of all revenue generated by restaurants are in the city of Fredericton, and 92% of revenue from the personal care services sector. So, you know, the urban center, the city of Fredericton is doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to regional services, shopping, and entertainment and food service. So the other thing we did in the report, we wanted to compare Fredericton, the concentration of economic activity in Fredericton compared to St. John and Moncton. Again, I showed you the slide earlier showing it at the top level, but also on a sector by sector basis. And if you look at it on a per capita basis, the city of Fredericton generates over 2 times as much revenue in the architectural, engineering, and related services sector compared to Fredericton or St. John and Moncton. A lot more revenue in the management, scientific, and technical services sector. Of course, research and development in New Brunswick is heavily concentrated in the city of Fredericton, 5 times more on a per capita basis. In the IT services sector, again, much more in the city. And then in the university side of things, of course, UNB, but also St. Thomas. So the university sector in Fredericton generates 1.8 times as much revenue as in Moncton and 4.2 times compared to St. John. And there's more. If you read the report, you'll see there's a more detailed breakdown by sector. So that's the economy side of things. What about the workforce side of things? Well, we took a look at that using census data. And in fact, 50% of all workforce participants leave the community they live in to go to work each day somewhere else in the capital region. So on average, if you take all the municipalities and you exclude those who work from home or who don't have an actual workplace, a specific place of work, 50% of those folks leave their community. So they leave Oromocto to work in Fredericton, or they leave Fredericton to work in New Maryland or whatever, Gagetown or whatever. I understand we have the new municipal names here. I'm just using again the census subdivision names from the previous names. So over 60% of all workers employed in Hanwell, Burton, Nakawik, and Lincoln, Oromocto, and Chipman commute in from other communities every day. So they're live in another community, but they commute into those municipalities for work or those census subdivisions. The Fredericton, the city as well, it benefits from this regional workforce as the number of people working in the city swells by 65% every day. So if you look at the workforce in the city, if you took out all of the people that commute in from other municipalities, the number of people working in the city would be cut significantly from the workforce that comes in when you include the workforce that comes in. Yeah, that's just a chart showing that. So Fredericton, 86% of people who live in Fredericton also work in Fredericton, and 14% leave. If you look at Oromocto, 62% that live in Oromocto work in Oromocto, but 38% leave Oromocto. If you look at the capital region, as we talked about, it's 50%. And then if you look at Burton, Hanwell, New Maryland, Douglas, St. Mary's, and so on. So this just shows you people are choosing to live in specific communities, even though for half of them, their job actually takes them out of the community in which they live every day. Yeah, that's just another way of looking at that. So that's a share of the workforce that come into the community every day. So Hanwell has a growing business an economy and economic industrial base in Hanwell. But 83% of the workers that actually work in Hanwell are coming in from the city of Fredericton and from other municipalities around the region. In Burton, it's 79%, Nakawik, 70%. Lincoln, Oromocto, Chipman. So this is the share of the workforce in the community that come in every day from other municipalities. So we've talked a lot about Fredericton being sort of the anchor in terms of the economy in the region, but the smaller communities benefit too. So there's over 1,000 different healthcare establishments in the capital region. So that's everything from a dentist office through to the big hospital. And that infrastructure benefits everybody across the region. If you look at the education sector, the Fredericton metropolitan area has the highest concentration of post-secondary education employment of any urban center in Atlantic Canada. So what that means is that young people living in the capital region have more choices in terms of post-secondary education options than young people in many other regions across the country. So many of them may still leave to go to university, but they have options for college and university right at home in the Fredericton area. If you look at the tourism, recreation, and entertainment sector, there are hundreds of tourism-related businesses across the capital region: hotels, restaurants, heritage institutions, performing arts, recreation trails. All of these things benefit people that live in the wider region. Again, they're not constrained by the municipal boundaries. If they want to go to a trail or a restaurant or a coffee shop all around the region, there's lots of options for them. And then the large scale retail, again, if you're a smaller community, you're never going to have the scale to have a Costco, let's say. And I know lots of people love and lots of people hate Costco, but at the end of the day, in order to have one, you have to have enough of a population base to justify them setting up in your community. So this is the share of the capital region workforce that live outside the city of Fredericton, and we look at it in more detail in the report, but this is on an occupational basis. So the point I was trying to make here is that a lot of folks in the capital region are choosing to live in smaller communities, even though their work may take them into the city or their work may take them into the wider area. So it is interesting to note that, for example, that most of the equipment, the mechanics, so the auto mechanics and other types of mechanics do not live in the city. 87% of them live in other communities. If you look at the folks, and this would make sense, of course, because of CFB Gagetown, but 82% of the folks that are primary combat members of the Canadian Armed Forces do not live in the city. If you look at things like transport truck drivers, again, it makes sense. A large share of those do not live in the city. And then a lot of other sort of construction trades and folks like that, you know, they want to live maybe in smaller communities or more rural communities, but they're benefiting from the regional workforce. So they can live where they want within the region, but they benefit from having the job opportunities and the career opportunities that come from living in the wider capital area. So looking at infrastructure and investment, again, we talked about the population base earlier. The larger population base justifies investment in infrastructure. So you wouldn't have an international airport in the region if you did not have the city and then the surrounding population to support that. So because we have enough scale to justify an airport, you know, that helps with trade, it helps with companies that export, it helps with tourism, and it helps with visitors to the community. So that transportation infrastructure is benefiting from looking on a regional basis, and in many cases even beyond the capital region. If you look at research and development, you know, there's a lot of capacity in the city of Fredericton around scientific research and development, and that benefits, you know, companies not only in the city, but companies in the region and companies across the province. And it also attracts the talent and to the city because of this research and development infrastructure. Tourism and recreation, if you look at major events like the PGA Tour, America's Golf Tournament, Pan American Black Bass Fishing Tournament, and so on. These are regionally hosted big events that benefit from the region and benefit from Fredericton's accommodation and food services sector. So the capital region's communities enhance the cultural landscape of the region. So you have a good mix of urban and rural and great rivers and you know, open areas and agricultural spaces and forested areas. So the capital region basically has it all, huge lakes, and that enhances the physical but also the cultural landscape in the region. You have heritage institutions, performing arts venues, recreational facilities. Again, no matter where they're located in the capital region, many of them are in the city, but some of them are elsewhere, they benefit the quality of life for the city, but also for residents across the capital region. And then these shared regional events foster a sense of community and draw visitors, benefiting Fredericton and also the capital region's economy. Okay, just a couple more slides here, and then we can talk, try to answer some questions you might have. So this is around collaboration. So of course the Service Commission is in the collaboration business, but when we start to look at the economy regionally, we start to look at the population regionally, we can find areas for collaboration. And so the city in particular has been leading a number of regional initiatives such as healthcare recruitment, tourism promotion, demonstrating the value of that collaboration. They amplify the city's influence, enable the pooling of resources to tackle shared challenges like workforce development, infrastructure planning, and environmental sustainability. So we've got a regional economy here, and we benefit from working where it makes sense, working on collaborative initiatives. So in conclusion, Fredericton's role as the capital region's urban hub is inseparable from the contribution of the surrounding communities. So the surrounding communities benefit from being close to the city. The city benefits from being from having a wider catchment area for customers, for its businesses, workers, for its workforce, and so on. There's a benefit from the mobile workforce, the shared infrastructure, and the economic integration around the region. Recognizing these interdependencies and embracing a regional approach will foster strong partnerships that enhance the entire region's resilience and growth. So the reality is we want all of the municipalities to be looking out for their own interests and finding their own niche and growing, you know, the industrial opportunities and the economic opportunities that they have. But because we're part of this wider region, also looking at how we can work together to benefit all of our communities in the capital region. So that's the presentation. So I'll just close my screen here and I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
All right, well, thanks. So does anybody have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Mr.
John?
Chair, to you and to the members and those and staff watching. The reason we looked at this is for, there was always, and I think, David, you covered a lot of this very well. A lot of that stretch, I guess the yin and the yang, or the stretch and the pull, if you will, in terms of how are we better together, the collectivity. And, you gave some examples in there of looking at whether it be, in our arts and culture, whether it be infrastructure, or whether it be, large scale retail such as Costco. But what we really wanted to show is that we all need one another. We all depend on one another. Each area of the region, whether we're the smallest community or the largest community, we all have a role to play. And we see the power and the strength of our capital city, but we also benefit from all of the areas in and around the capital city as well. So the reality was, in terms of what we're trying to achieve, is trying to give people a document to have a look at, to create a broader thought process in how do we come together as a region, and try to encourage us to work together more often whenever possible. We have some great examples. I'll just spin through my usual Rolodex. Tourism, 3 years ago, you go back, about 75, 78 offerings, over 300 offerings today. You look at Ignite and look at the benefit that we're having with their business development officers assigned to each area of the region. When we first started, there was a lot of concern how that would roll out. It's coming together. We're awaiting on the release of Vision 2030 for the region that Ignite has undertaken. And I won't ask David to speak about that, but I do know that he's had input, excuse me, to say the least. And in that, when that comes out, and as we move towards April with work plans, we've already had presentations from Ignite and Fredericton Capital Region Tourism. And then what we'll want to do is look at Vision 2030, get a handle on that, and how do we bring all this together and start putting our own work plan together? What is the interest of this particular committee, and how we bring that back to the board? We've got so many great things in our region. Recently had the opportunity to meet with a local group of business people and industry people, such as myself, with the Brigadier General from CFB Gagetown. Great conversation there. Certainly lots of synergies with exactly what David's saying in the report. We've got the community of Grand Lake that's out there growing in leaps and bounds. We've got all of your communities, whether it be Nakwik with their housing plan, whether we're looking at the growth and the opportunities in Oromocto, Sunbury, York South, or wherever that may be, Arcadia. We've certainly held some really interesting programs as of late. I know that Member Meunier, who's on the call here today, was certainly instrumental in those, looking at it from a more agricultural forestry lens. And then you have places where I live, and I share with Susan Jonah out here in the Hanwell, that you see that there's a lot of people coming in and out. We've got businesses growing, we've got industrial parks, we've got community growth all around us, as all the communities do. So we've got so much to be proud of in the capital region. Now we just got to put that plan together to take it to that next level if we can. So thank you, Mr. Chair. More of a comment than a question, but I don't know, David, if you have anything, or through you, Mr. Chair, if David has any comments on that.
So, yeah, I mean, I think you make a good point. I mean, obviously you want municipalities to do what they can do. It's good that you have these individual municipalities and that they have their focus area, and they're trying to do things to grow and create a strong quality of life in their communities. But because you have this, you're part of this sort of regional economy, it is good to be trying to find ways to work together when you can, share best practices. The Ignite example is a good one. For a very small municipality, it's impossible to invest in a full economic development team. But now you have the resources of Ignite, when you need them, when you need somebody on workforce, when you need somebody on business development, when you need somebody on, in other areas, you've got a team to access there. So that is a really great service, to look regionally. Again, as I said, economies don't conform to municipal boundaries. They are regional in nature. So I agree with what you said. I think, municipalities should, look out for number one, of course. Nobody's going to come in and save Oromocto's bacon, let's say, except Oromocto. But as we look for regional opportunities, that's when it's really great to come together and find ways to work together.
Great. I'll tell you this as well, that these documents, whenever they were put together, they're pretty much out of date an hour after, and it's a snapshot in time. However, it is a good way to look at things. For example, it showed the PR status as being 35 in the outside area. Well, I'm attending our own PR session for our newcomers on Friday night, and there's 81 graduating on Friday night. So you'd think, well, that's great. That's 81, but that's 81 of Chipman, which has a population of, or did have a population of 1,200. So that's a big percentage of my population coming in, and it's something that I need to, when I look at these numbers, I just fill in my numbers into them, which I know of, and you're familiar with your area. It's something we better be standing up and taking a look at. And so I appreciate these things.
Yeah, if I can jump in on that, one of the challenges when you're a region like this is that sometimes Stats Canada's data is sometimes they're not great at sometimes they don't, because they're estimating population, sometimes they miss things.
Yeah.
But I really think in your case, in your municipality's case, it is since this data. In the last year, you've seen a real surge in permanent residents and people moving into the region. I think it's very exciting. And we're seeing immigrants around the region. But having said that, if people move in from Toronto or from other parts of Canada, we're happy to have them as well, as long as they're, contributing to the local economy.
Yeah, and I think it provides us an opportunity to look at areas that, from a rural district, how we support the capital area, and vice versa. Same thing if the capital area is looking for a specific task or something like that. A lot of the rural areas were developed based on the fact that there was an industry there at one point in time. Minto was developed in coal at one time. Minto alone had 5,000 people, and Chipman had 3,000 people. And when the coal left, then it declined. However, it doesn't mean that the people declined in their ability. So we had welders and mechanics and all that, and maybe the next community is looking for that. And this is where we can look at this data too. So.
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting about the research is the size of the forest products industry in the capital region. Of course, most of that or much of that is centered in your part of the capital region, but there's some more in sort of up as well toward Nakawik, of course. But yeah, it's we think of the city, we think of IT, we think of knowledge-based industries, we think of universities, and that's all true. But when you get into the other parts of the region, there's a very large and very successful forest products industry as well.
Yeah, and I would think it goes same for farming and things like that in the Gagetown area, and so the region actually offers a wide variety of services and are available to us, and I think that with this shop at home, so to speak, attitude that we're all coming showing our Canadian pride, it certainly will help us to look at that. How do we support our region, all of the region? So, thanks. Is there any further questions or comments? Okay. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Susan.
No, I guess mine was just more of a comment than anything else. Like I said, I was at the meeting in January, and this is my second time seeing the presentation. And actually, I really do appreciate that we're having it again. it was kind of one of these things that was, really nice to see. It was part of the meeting and it was really good. But yet it's nice to see it again, to kind of refresh your mind of, the different things that are going on. And I find I'm really glad you were able to come. Thanks.
All right. Is there anything further? I guess with that, David, I want to thank you for putting the presentation on again. I think that there was a lot of great information packed in it. I know I forwarded it on to all my council members so that they can take a look, and they certainly they all felt value in it. So I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come, and as John mentioned, I've played a small role in the regional economic development strategy, and really focusing on what's really strong, what are the assets in the city, but also what are the opportunities, agriculture and others in the wider area. If you think of the mining project potentially out in the Stanley area and so on. So looking at sort of the economy more broadly and trying to figure out what the focus should be over the next 5 years or so. So excited to at some point in the near future, hopefully get back and talk to you about what Sarah and her team are up to.
Great. I appreciate that. So thanks again. And
Mr. Chair,
ahead.
I apologize. Just before
Yeah.
you go, I see Director Hayward, our Vice Chair, has his hand up there too.
Oh, I didn't even see him. Sorry.
No worries. One quick question for Mr. Campbell. Can you send out the new presentation with the added screens on it as well to the group?
I think, John, did you send that around? I think that we do. That is the latest version, I believe.
Is that the latest version? I think Kelly would have that already, so we'll distribute it right after the call today.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, folks.
Okay.
Thanks very much, David.
Have a good day.
Okay, I appreciate it. All right, so the next topic is just a general discussion and the direction to the staff, and that would be John.
So, Mr. Chair, on that, I think there's one more kind of culminating piece here, and then we can start to put together a work plan in which we come out with looking at deliverables and how we get there together. And I think that's with the release Vision 2030. We're hoping that's going to be before our next committee meeting. And if it is, we'll schedule that for this particular group, and we'll cast it widely again for others that would like to participate and see it. I think it's going to be a very interesting document. I do know they are making some refining parts to it now to cast net even wider than what was originally intended. But once we have a sightline on that, I'll keep you, Mr. Chair, and the committee informed, and we'll bring that forward. And then that will give us that opportunity to look, as we talked at one of the previous sessions, information sessions that we held. We had people were very interested in agriculture, and whether it be agricultural lands, whether it be agricultural development. And we've had, our Agricultural Alliance in. We've had the Department of Natural Resource, Agriculture, Aquaculture, and Fisheries, and they certainly want to work with us. So then we look at 2030, see what that has to offer, come together as a committee, start to put a plan together, and really start to kind of put some teeth to it, if you will. So
that's great. One of the other things, and I don't know if it falls under us or not, or as just an information session that we could put out, was I think everybody probably received the letter from Dr. Comstock today on the new process for the what they're looking at doing in clinics and whatnot, and asking everybody for their to put in their 2 cents, so to speak. And I think that it might be something that we could look at as a presentation from him as to what their actual plans are for our areas and how that's going to affect us. And that would maybe that's not our group to look at that, how we bring that forward. But if it isn't, then
well,
somebody should.
oh, sorry, Mr. Chair. So I've met with Dr. Comstock once already, and they were really trying to get a form of a plan together. We've been working with Ignite on an asset inventory for the region in terms of what's available, whether that be where the pharmacies are, where the clinics that are available, where's all that. We've just recently, literally in the last few days, received that information. And then we'll have another piece to that I'll be bringing forward based on the last meeting of the board. It would certainly fit very well to have Dr. Comstock and her team come here and make a presentation and cast that net widely, because what more appropriate area to be in? Maybe community development. Maybe Don and I are going to have to arm wrestle over this, but we'll have nobody wants to see that, but Don will probably win. He works out every day. But that being said, all kidding aside, the biggest piece that we have is around economic development and economic expansion in our region, and physician, nurse practitioner, and healthcare recruitment are certainly a big piece of that. And I think they would welcome the opportunity to come present either to this committee or to the board, Mr. Chair, and we'll certainly explore that with her. She's been in before, but they've been trying to put their pieces, if you will, their ducks in a line to try to get that better emulated. And we're working on a proposal internally with terms of reference based on the direction that I received, or I guess the high level direction that I received at the end of our last board meeting on that particular issue. So I think there's a real synergy there, and I think this is starting to ramp up, and we have to take a leadership role in that.
Yeah, I think so, and especially where she's out asking for everybody in the communities to respond to her for help, and it's not a single vision, where you say, well, it's a doctor, it's a nurse practitioner, it's whatever. I was at the hospital today, or our clinic today, and again, every time I go in, I count the people that are from our area, and when I don't know, I go ask them. If you think I don't, I do. And so I had lovely discussions today with 35 people in the waiting room. And out of the 35, 30 were from our surrounding area. So it's not quite good enough to say, well, you have 5,000 people and you need a doctor, when 90% of my population is being treated, or 90% of the people being treated aren't in my population. So that's another issue that I think that they're looking at the doctors, but not necessarily the whole holistic view of the healthcare system in our area. So it is I think it would be wonderful to have her there and have it broadcast just like today to everybody that wants to be a part of it.
Yep, not a problem.
Okay. Is there, you carry on, I'm sorry for hijacking that, so.
Oh, no, look, 100%, just waiting to hear if there's views from the other members, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Looks like we're good.
Okay. I think a lot of people seem to be nodding their head when you were speaking about that Dr. Comstock and the team engaged, and certainly she did make an offer to come back to meet with us, so we'll take her up on that offer.
Okay.
All right. No problem, sir.
Okay. Is there anything else for today? So
nothing further from my end, sir.
Okay, so I think that that's our. I think we've got a plan moving forward. Did we have our next meeting lined up?
It'd be just a moment. I'm looking at Kelly here because she normally tells me. So, oh, Kelly, you're on mute there.
It's St. Patty's Day. Sorry, Dawn.
What?
And that's the highest holiday of the year.
We should be having that one in person at the bar with green beer.
That's an in-person session, I believe.
Listen,
it's at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
4 o'clock,
on.
Dolan
The timing would be
17.
right. I mean, if if we wanted to get together there, some of our colleagues there will have to, we'll have to get them, if the skidooing's still well there, we'll have to get maybe the chair to pick them up and get them there quicker. So,
Right on.
Well, that works for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if there's nothing further, I need a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Well, I'll move we adjourn.
Okay. Second,
Second that motion.
we're adjourned. All
Have a
right.
good
Thanks,
day.
everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Thanks, see
time.
you later.
Thanks now.
Enjoy the skidooing.
I will.
See you tomorrow.